Do we do DeSantis or?
Oh yeah, we should do that, right?
I mean, it's like kind of a closing the clearance sale on DeSantis stuff, I feel like.
Yeah, right. Soon he might be like dropping out and we won't have the opportunity to talk about him. Yes.
Do you think he's going to drop out?
No.
Has it really gotten that bad?
It's
I don't
so
think so
brutal. I mean,
He'll
his
stick
social
through
media
it.
is so dead. He tweets out like, hey, let us know if you're with us. And it gets like 18 retweets over 24 hours.
Well, that's because everybody's on
I guess.
On
Truth. Or maybe, I'm just trying to be open here. Maybe DeSantis's followers have all gone to Blue Sky.
I wouldn't bet on that, but I also wouldn't bet on him dropping out.
Mastodon?
I do think he's gonna stick it. None of those are. Yeah, I know. I think he's gonna stick it out because he literally is hoping Trump dies. Gets replaced as a convention.
Honestly, like that is not. That is not. I mean, that's not a horrible bet. The problem is the longer he stays in, the more unlikable he is. If he's smart, he suspends but not drops out the campaign and then just pops back up sometime around.
If Trump goes down, maybe like say like I'm going to suspend. I support Trump. That would give him a lot of goodwill. He could duck his head down for a little bit, and not take so much flack, and then actually get in if it's time to play.
He's going to run out of money is the issue at one point.
And I also do think though it'll be even once we see that second debate in a few weeks. I think it'll be a little bit more clear to what the behind the scenes stuff is, because my theory was that he wasn't getting really attacked by the other Republicans on the stage in the first night's debate, and I think that there's broad like consensus among people in the party that we need to have an alternative to Trump. We're going to get hosed.
That's the thing.
And all the donors are saying, don't go after Ron, don't do it. And he was basically largely untouched. I'd be curious to see if that is consistent next time.
That's the amazing thing about the debate. I mean, I was really blown away by how diminished they all seemed. And he tried to seem like he was presidential and impassioned, but it just came off as like
whiny,
weird yelling.
Yeah.
And there is no like, who is the backup if Trump goes down? I mean, there's no one on that stage who isn't like, maybe DeSantis is the only one who would not, and maybe Ramaswamy, but there's no way that Ramaswamy is going to get nominated in the Republican Party. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, folks. And anybody but DeSantis, like I feel like 1/3 of the voters will just say, I'm not going to the polls. They screwed over Donald Trump.
Oh my God.
And
they might do that with DeSantis regardless.
DeSantis, I think it's going to be 15 to 20%.
If they're really setting the table for a convention dethroning of Trump to install DeSantis, it will be like, I mean, I don't even know how to make a prediction about what the reaction will be.
This is, I mean, like, I think even if Trump is in I mean, who knows? So this is all just mindless speculation. And literally 2 hours ago, I was like, I'm not even going to bother talking about this because who knows? But if they put somebody else on the ballot, the issue isn't whether they can beat Biden or not. Maybe they can. But the anger that might be associated with even, let's just say, 5 or 10% of Trump voters, that's going to screw them in the Senate. And that's going to screw them in the House. Like, it may be worthwhile for them to even keep Trump on the ballot so that, like, because then the strategy becomes like, we just need to save the House or the Senate. And we do that by keeping Trump on the ballot and you know, try and convince them to go out and vote for the Republican senatorial candidate without alienating that base.
Yes.
Now, of course, there's a whole nother question because 70% of, you know, of people, like something like 65% of Democrats even say, you know, Joe Biden, we don't think we think he's too old to serve as president. You know, the bottom line is you get two choices, you know, that have a chance of winning the presidency, regardless of what you think about any, you know, third or fourth or fifth party candidate, and people might just pull the lever for him as opposed to a indicted or an imprisoned candidate. Who knows?
Now
It's
that we
crazy.
tease this out, it's their best option to keep Trump on the ballot for that reason. Because if they do try to, remove him and install someone like DeSantis, Trump will run third party. Trump will run third party because this is existential for him, and he's delusional enough to think that he can win.
And they are getting nervous though, because it seems like from a lot of different accounts, Rupert Murdoch is like really, really putting pressure on Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin to come into the race late, which makes me think that A, he still is really, really ardent about Trump not winning, and B, he thinks none of these other people have any shot.
Yeah.
And then also on the other end, it seems like Biden world people are getting kind of annoyed that Gavin Newsom is still trying to like drum up the DeSantis him debate stuff, while also still having Kamala Harris be trotted out in many more places. Like, I feel like on the periphery, there's a lot of sort of like breathing down other people's neck in the party of like, what will happen if we actually don't have the options we think we're going to have because of, any sort of act of God on either end of the spectrum.
Right.
Antonin Scalia's ghost. New Hampshire's already looking into taking Trump off all ballots. Again, they can do that, but either Trump runs third party or fourth party, fifth party, whatever, how many parties there are, or he's prevented from running in some way, but the impact is going to be just as bad. In fact, if I'm the Republicans, I may want him to run third party just to get them to come out, although their anger towards the Republican Party could be such that, like, I'm never voting for a Republican again. I mean, they're in a jam. But with that said, this one caveat, so if somebody clips this, we're making a lot of assumptions about Biden and about Trump here that I think are just impossible to make. All right. So let's cover
Putting
the
that
DeSantis
aside.
thing.
Yeah, right.
Here's Ron DeSantis down in Florida having to walk this tightrope of both not alienating his supporters who want him to be racist, but also not alienating the people in Florida and maybe nationally who feel discomfort at the idea of a guy writing, I want to kill black people, essentially, broadly, if we're to believe the sheriff from Jacksonville, and painting Nazi swastikas on his gun. Here is DeSantis.
I'd say a few additional words about what happened in Jacksonville yesterday. Florida, the state, and its people condemn the horrific racially motivated murders perpetrated by a deranged scumbag in Jacksonville at the Dollar General store. Perpetrating violence of this kind is unacceptable, and targeting people due to their race has no place in the state of Florida. Casey and I extend condolences to the victims and their families on behalf of the entire state of Florida. I've spoken with Jacksonville Mayor Deegan, Sheriff Waters, and President Faison from Edward Waters College. We will work with Dr. Faison to ensure the college has adequate security, just like we've done when our Jewish day schools have been receiving threats. We're not going to...
It's weird that all this stuff is happening around Florida.
DeSantis is only in favor of targeting people for prosecution for voter fraud based on their race, not necessarily in terms of murdering them. So that's the line he's trying to draw. How noble.
Pop up, this is DeSantis showing up at a vigil later that evening, right? I think it was, or that afternoon.
Not sure I'd want to see him.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is here. We're going to ask the governor if he will come on and remarks.
Wow.
Well, thank you for doing this. We want to just say to the councilwoman, I got you. Don't worry about it. We've already been looking to identify funds to be able to help make sure there's adequate security for Edward Waters College. We are not going to allow these institutions to She's targeted by people.
Your policies caused this! These guns are on your head!
Now, you hear people saying your politics caused this. They're booing him, and he's trying to, like, have a, I'm going to let everybody see how I'm, providing for this councilwoman. Now, I think she goes on to say, like, this is not about politics. We don't want to, politicize this. It's not about parties and this and that. And that's a smart thing for her to say because
They need help.
I don't think there's a more vindictive
Exactly.
Yeah.
governor in the country who, you remember everything they did with Disney just because Disney came out and dared to say, like, we don't think you should be so discriminatory towards gay people or say that, we can't talk about being gay in
Or
in
his
education.
targeting of non-white, somewhat. I think at least the woman was the DAs and prosecutors that were elected, and trying to remove them
Without a doubt.
He's
I mean,
incredibly
he's-
retaliatory.
And so she gets up there and says, this is not about politics and this and that. But, because there's going to be funding or whatever there is that they're going to want from the state. She's hoping to get it and doesn't want to embarrass him there. But these people, they live in Florida. They understand what he's been doing. They understand what that party's about.